Let's see if they can turn two. There's one. And there's two.
Pretty big fish to fry. That's a pretty big fish to fry. My. That's a pretty big fish to fry. That's a pretty big fish to fry. My. Last weekend I barely thought I'd make it out alive. Told myself I'd take time and give some love a try. I wasn't alive. My.
Oh, yeah, it is Tuesday, November the 22nd, 2016. We are back after a bye week. You are checking out the premier sports and beer podcast coming to you from the United States of America, which since the last time we joined you has become great again. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to us. We know that you have a plethora of options of what you can listen to. We appreciate the couple of minutes that you give us each and every week because we know that we're just probably not all that good. So we do appreciate you guys. My name is Jeff. I'm joined each and every week by a distinguished panel of Average Joes. This week from Denville with me is Brett.
I disagree. I think we are that good.
That's good. I'm glad you feel that way. Confidence is key. From the City of Champions, we have Sean.
I actually disagree with Brett. I think we are terrible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And taking up the entire screen with a political message that this show may or may not endorse. You can take your choice from nation's capital, the capital. It's Yampo.
Ground zero. I'm in it.
So before we go any further.
That was awful.
That was so bad. I should just stick to the same damn thing every day. Hello, friends.
Where
There you go.
Where does one get? I know obviously I've seen the baseball cap "Make America Great," but where does one get like a
The bucket.
the bucket hat? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just go to Amazon.com and you had a few cocktails, you can pretty much find anything you want.
what? Because they
He
made
looks like he's in training camp.
There's a reason I got this hat, and let's just be clear. So Thanksgiving is tomorrow. It's a Thursday, actually. I'm a day ahead of myself.
0 for 2 today. Okay,
All
keep
right.
going.
I'm hot tonight, Daddy.
Thanksgiving is not tomorrow,
Okay, it's Thursday. But
When you've had a few cocktails and you try and remember the holidays.
and you do a podcast.
okay, settle down. Thanksgiving, family, political statements. I bought this hat drunk on Friday night on Amazon.com. So the 31 other people at Thanksgiving on Thursday night will be infuriated when I sit down at the table with it.
So you're blatantly doing this to blow up Thanksgiving.
Pretty much. Just going to drop an A-bomb on the turkey plate.
That is an aggressive move.
Yeah. Because holidays with drunk families isn't enough. You have to legitimately pour gasoline on the fire.
That's what I like to do.
All right, great job, man.
Good stuff. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody.
And good evening, everybody. And despite the fact that I have just knocked a cup of coffee in my lap and a suit that's just out of the cleaners, it's great to be home.
And his first pitch to D. Gordon is almost on the kneecaps for ball one. D just did get out of the way.
It's the first pitch.
Okay, so we're coming out swinging this week on this week's first pitch. Like I said, we did have a bye week last week. We kind of punted last week. We had some stuff kind of go down that put us on the back burner as far as the show. So what we wanted to do is we kind of wanted to take a chance and go over some stuff that happened over the last 2 weeks. And the one thing that kept coming to mind, I like to refer to this show, the guys that are on this show, as my posse. So the actual original name for the show was Jeff and the Posse, but I got outvoted. So Brett, I know
I'm offended.
Yeah, you can be offended wearing that hat. Right? There's nothing that anybody could possibly say to you tonight that could offend you. Brett,
Yes.
you had some fire in your belly about the Posse comments from Phil Jackson.
I did. Well, first of all, I want to let you know I feel great off that bye week, rested up, nursed some injuries, feel back 100%. So I'm gonna tear this up.
Me too. Totally rested.
Yeah, you look totally rested. I told you we just got done talking before the show. I was like, yeah, I was fired up about this. Now I'm not. And now, since the opening of the show, thinking about talking to her about this during the first pitch, I got re-fired up again. So I'm committed. I was infuriated last week when, for anybody that doesn't know or that's listening. So long story short, Phil Jackson gave an interview, and in that interview, he mentioned LeBron James. And while talking about LeBron James and his situation in Miami, he decided to use the word posse when referring to LeBron and his friends. LeBron's, I don't know what he is, Jeff. I think he's like his best friend from high school that is now his business partner. They own a business together, and he's based out in LA, Maverick Carter, which I think is a pretty dope name. Maverick Carter, who's been with LeBron since the beginning, since they played basketball in high school together, came back and I guess took offense to the word posse. He thought that there was a racial hint, attached to what Phil said. And to me, like, I don't know, sitting back as someone who I can't understand where he's coming from. I feel like he's trying to create news just to create news and more or less playing a race card. And I don't say that often, but I feel, I don't know how you guys feel, and maybe I'm off base about it, but I didn't see any sort of racial intent behind that remark. So when I found out that this was now a thing and LeBron's mad and Carmelo understands why LeBron's mad at Phil and Maverick's pissed and it makes headlines, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know if I don't consider myself far removed from society or what goes on in the year 2016, but this kind of blew my mind.
I don't think you're far removed from society, but you're definitely far removed from being a black man in America. So
that
so
is
put
true.
down your silver spoon and let's discuss the word posse. Posse, by definition, is a body of men, typically armed, summoned by a sheriff to enforce the law.
Like Buford Mad Dog Tannen
Exactly.
and Back to the
LeBron
Future.
James, get a grip, grow up, be the champion you are when you came back to Cleveland and were a hero. Don't start this BS race card crap.
I agree with you. Like, there's so much in this country where the race card is legitimate, and this just is not one of them. So, those guys stood up at the ESPYs and they did all sorts of public displays and tried to raise awareness for racial equality and whatnot. And I think that was appropriate.
That was great.
This to me just seemed like a stretch.
If I was Maverick, I think I would be more mad that, like, those guys are rich. They're successful. Like,
I want to be in their
David,
posse.
Exactly. David, by your definition of posse, it's like an armed group of outlaws. like these guys.
That's not my definition.
Well,
okay,
yeah,
that's
whatever the definition is. These guys are young. They have money. They're wealthy beyond anybody's entire possible imagination, and they continue to be successful. Don't call my shit a posse, dude. Like, we're better than that. If he took offense there, I understand that, but not the race part of it.
They probably just think they're bigger than bigger than that they're more than just his buddies. I assume that's where that comes from. I don't know. Also, who's David?
Yeah, I don't know who David.
You are
who is David?
Wait, what? Did I say David?
I'm serious, nigga. What do y'all think?
This is us moving on from the first pitch today, because we've got to go to what the most important thing was that happened over the weekend, which is our very own Sean rubbing elbows with the one and only Snoop D-O-double-G. Sean, I had to get out of that first pitch because it was not doing anything for me. You sent a text message to us that I could only describe as something that I thought I would read like online as a goof. And it was basically, I'm going to paraphrase it. Oh, I'm spearheading a private concert that Snoop Dogg is going to be doing this weekend for us. And the rest of us just kind of looked at our phones with a look on our face that was just like, my life is trash. So explain to us a little bit about how you found yourself in that situation and really what it led up to, which is what we'll segue into with college football.
I don't know how to succinctly say this, but it was for work.
It was really what
I am not a part of Snoop's posse, if that's where this is headed. But
Did you bring your green hat?
Yeah, we were in LA. We were celebrating the USC UCLA rivalry. We had Snoop play a private show the night before. It was great.
We.
Him and his posse.
He does roll with a lot of folks that are probably less qualified than
I just
Maverick
want to say
Carter.
the other 4 people typically on this podcast were sitting at home at that juncture, messing with their children of various ages from 3 days to 2 years, a year and a half. Well, I don't even know how old Paul's kids are. And Sean drops that text on us, and the timing just couldn't have been worse.
It was awful.
I feel terrible about what I've done and the direction that I've taken my life in.
I don't know what to tell you. That's your fault.
He's got a
So
point.
I'm asking,
That is
are
awful.
there any job openings at Miller Coors?
What he's asking, Sean, is can he go to the national championship?
He could sit next to my brother.
You know, that would be terrible.
And
How
I,
was that? How was that game out in LA?
It was awesome. I was really happy to actually check out the Rose Bowl. It was just such a cool environment to be around. The game got started pretty good. Started like a little bit of a shootout. Kind of didn't end up that way, but the Rose Bowl is a fantastic place to watch a game. It's a little bit of a pain to get to, but good golly, that is a storied venue.
well, because you were there obviously early was the event right before the game or was it a day before? What was the
Day before, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you weren't necessarily there super early for the game then.
No.
Well, why don't you give us a little bit of a preview, I guess, for going into this week. One of the things that I've been talking about, I guess, for weeks now is, and this will show you how much college football I watch. I keep asking you every week, is this the week that Ohio State plays Michigan? Every week I feel like I ask that same question, and I think we're finally there. It is this week, correct?
We are there. I will be there.
I've
Of course.
Sure, why wouldn't you be?
Of course. Makes sense.
And Friday night is Big and Rich. It's not Snoop Dogg.
I
Because
was
we're
literally,
coming to your city.
I was literally about to ask who it was, like joking around. Like I was gonna be like, "Oh, whose concert you got then?" Yeah, you actually have one.
It's
Okay.
got to be significantly different. A Big and Rich crowd has got to be significantly different than a Snoop crowd, though.
You're
right?
looking at the big and rich crowd right here, pal.
Yeah, it is significantly different. We had it in Texas when I was at the Baylor Texas game too. They
Hanging out with Matthew McConaughey.
All right, let's talk.
I don't know how this turned into.
Let's talk football.
It started off with me being like, "Oh, that was cool. You managed a private
Yeah.
concert for Snoop."
Now you're asking for resumes, and
Yes.
I do this for fun, not to.
Right.
Not to
Right.
I just
Um,
want to talk football.
So how about that Michigan Ohio State game? Like,
Thank you, Jeff.
do you
Thank
think it'll live up to what it's built up to be, or do you think it'll be, one-sided? I mean, you're going there, so you know that it's a hell of an atmosphere where you're going to be. So do you think that that'll influence the game at all?
Atmosphere. I mean, for no matter where that game's played, atmosphere always plays a huge role, even if the teams are down. But Ohio State has won the last 13 of 15, if I'm not mistaken. The last big one that was a big deal was in 2006 when it was 1-2. I think you're going to get an atmosphere just like that, to be honest with you. I wonder, I am worried about it as an Ohio State fan, but I wonder if it's going to be as close as people are making it. I think it's going to really come down to quarterback play. So Michigan's quarterback, Wilton Speight, which is a very pretentious name,
Not as
got
good
hurt.
harder.
Right. But he got hurt 2 weeks ago 2 weeks ago. He's out, and they're bringing in John O'Corn. He played this past weekend. He's a transfer from Houston. He has some snaps under his belt, but I think they're asking a lot of him, particularly with Ohio State's secondary, which is arguably the best in the country. On the flip side, you've got JT Barrett, who's a seasoned veteran field general. He's only got one problem. He's from Texas, and for whatever reason, he can't throw the ball for his life in bad weather. It's supposed to be about 45 and a little bit of rain, so hopefully that doesn't play a factor. But I think you see the Buckeyes win by 2 scores.
I love everything I've seen online right now. Is I guess it's all throughout the Ohio State campus, and they have every sign that has an M on it. They just have the M, like they have like an X through it.
Yeah, they don't recognize it. It's fantastic.
Could you imagine if you were a student at Ohio State this week? I mean, I want to be that guy. It would be amazing. That campus has got to be raucous this whole week.
Well, what do you think? Because it is a holiday week. So do you think that you're going to get more alumni coming to that game than you would actual kids that are in school now, or do you think kids will stick around and just go?
I think the majority of that school is from the state of Ohio and will make their way back on Friday for that game.
Right.
And for the Big and Rich concert.
Obviously.
Ohio State 6.5-point favorites, by the way, if you're.
What would you guys do living in where you currently live right now? Like you're a college student, you go to Ohio State, but you live where you currently live.
I'm back on Friday. No questions
What do you do
asked.
Absolutely.
Me too. I don't think it's a question. I'm going back.
Mom and Dad love you, but I'm going back.
I would consider not going to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I don't even go home.
I would too. I would consider not going to Thanksgiving at all.
It's just a drive.
I don't go home at all. And if anything, let's say in like 20 years or like 20 years from now, my kid goes to Ohio State and that happened. Like I'm not even asking my kid to come home. Like, so I'll be out there on.
Yeah. So we're doing Thanksgiving.
I'll be out there Wednesday.
Yeah,
I'll be.
that's a good point.
That's true.
We'll have eaten
We'll
back.
be at Applebee's or have Chinese food or something, whatever they're still serving.
Let's go to the game.
So, Sean, let me ask you this question. If Michigan, and doesn't really matter, I guess, but because their backup quarterback is playing, last week watching them play Michigan State, they looked a little tight. Obviously, a division game, big rivalry there. That's always going to be played tight. But if Michigan State didn't go for 2, they're hanging around. That game goes to overtime. You think any of that carries over and they're a little tight for this game against Michigan?
I think that was the right. First of all, that's the right decision for D'Antonio to make.
I agree.
And I think that was the right call. If you are in that situation, you are the down team and you have a chance to win that, you take it. So play call was a little suspect, but I think that's the right call.
That game is the play call was suspect. O'Connor stinks, and the guy was open, but that's neither here nor there.
All right, well, that's between you and him. But I think if that game gets tied, you don't want it to be in overtime. I think Ohio State wins that one. But does it affect this game? No, I think going back to what I said earlier about JT Barrett, it was a bad weather game. He can't play in that for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but I don't think it phases him all that much going into this week. From every time I've ever met like an Ohio State alumni or a former player, they say that like going into this week is completely different than any other preparation week. It's like kind of quiet. It's not as like hyped and everyone's really focused. So I think you'll see that out of him, and he's a really good leader. I don't see him dropping this one to John O'Corn.
Well, it should be a hell of a game.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
My question for you, I guess, Sean, is both of these teams have not had a clean sweep up to this point. So, what happens to the loser of this game? Are their national title hopes gone?
It depends who it is. So there's a ton of what ifs that are out there right now. So if it's Ohio State wins, I think they're a lock for a playoff. I think if Ohio State loses, and well, I guess they're not going to be a Big Ten champ and they have Michigan sitting on top of them, I don't think they are in the playoff. If Michigan so I'm trying to think through this. Then Michigan would be in the Penn State would still play in a God, I can't even wrap my mind around this.
Right.
I think
That's what I mean.
Wait, I'm going to try and find that crazy scenario, that text that I sent to you.
It's a hugely important game for both of these teams. Like aside from the fact that it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, like serious national title, playoff implications are at play here. Correct?
Absolutely, as are every other team in the hunt this week and moving forward. I mean, it's playtime. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, if Michigan wins, they still have a chance to be in the Big Ten championship, which there's a lot of different scenarios that could play out there depending on Penn State. But I honestly, we'll get to it in a little bit, but I think you'll see 2 Big Ten teams in the playoff hunt.
Okay, so let's go down the line. What are your thoughts on Clemson? Does Clemson control its own destiny at this point?
Absolutely, they have the easiest route into the playoff by far. They play a pretty weak South Carolina team, and what I assume will be Virginia Tech in the ACC championship. They shouldn't have any issues. I see Clemson making their way in, no problem.
And then we go over to the SEC. You know, SEC basically the championship game is locked down with Alabama and Florida.
Mhm.
You know, after the Gators, surprising win over LSU the other day. Florida State this weekend, always a crazy situation. It doesn't really matter. The real question, that we had spoken about is, does Florida or anybody for that matter have what it takes, to beat Alabama? I mean, Alabama is historically the best coach team in college football. They are a perennial powerhouse. Do any of those teams in the SEC, I guess Florida specifically, have what it takes to take them out?
Florida, no. They're kind of riddled by injuries. They had a nice win against LSU. I don't want to take that away from them, but I don't think anybody in that conference has a chance. If I were to say anybody has a chance, I think it would be Ohio State. But
is that a homer? Is that a homer pick, though?
It's not. It's not. I think it would be great to see a rematch of that 2014 Sugar Bowl. That was a great game. I think they have defensively, from a secondary standpoint, again, I mentioned that earlier, they're the best in the country. I think they can stick with them. They got a good linebacking core. They're not too riddled by injuries, and offensively, they put up 40+ a game. So they're kind of similar to Bama in that way. You bring up a great point about coaching. You know how we all feel about coaching here. Those are two of the best in the country, and you can't really. I would say that they're on similar planes. So I would say Ohio State's the only one that could come close to them, but I don't think you're going to see them get beat up at all by Florida.
Well, you brought up, I guess I indirectly brought up coaching, and then you kind of took it there. Let's deviate a little bit from our script here. The rumors are everywhere that Charlie Strong is out at Texas, a coaching move. I guess let's go around the horn real fast. Yampa, I'll start with you. Do you have any thoughts on whether it was appropriate, whether it was premature? What are your thoughts on Texas? Not officially letting him go, but the situation over there looks like Strong's out.
Sure, I feel like and I saw a little bit about this on a few shows and a few talk radio things. I think if you're going to let a guy go and there's going to be talk of letting him go, you let him go right away. One guy, I can't remember, one pundit said, if you lose to Kansas, you automatically get fired no matter who you are, which I think it's kind of funny, but I don't think it's fair to him and the team and the program in general to kind of talk about firing him, then not firing him, then are we going to fire him, and then there's just a whole cloud of uncertainty. I don't think that's fair to either the kids who are playing hard every week or the coach himself.
Okay, Brett.
It sucks for him, right? I mean, he knows he's a lame duck going in. Is it appropriate? Yeah, probably. He could never really get it going there. I think this is his third year there. I think. We argue sometimes on the show, is that enough time to build a recruiting class and start, turning a program around? I've seen it done. So he never really got the team going. It's probably time to make a change. Texas football is life, man. Those boosters control a lot. So if you're not winning, you're not staying aboard.
What's your take, Sean?
I disagree with both of you guys. I think nothing sucks for him because he's getting paid a lot of money to do a big job.
And he's getting $10 million to walk away, right? I mean,
yeah. So do I feel bad for him? No. He'll land on his feet. It's not. This isn't that big of a deal for him. Well, it's a big deal, but life-wise, he's unaffected. I don't think you fire him after a Kansas loss. I think you have a group of kids that still need a leader, that still need to get through a game. And when you do something like that, no matter what the situation is, no matter how early in the season it is, no matter how late it is in the season, you kind of show those guys that you're giving up on the season, which isn't fair to those kids. I hate how much of an influence boosters have at the University of Texas. That is something that'll never change, something that I guess unfortunately happens in a lot of places there more than anywhere else. But unfortunately, I actually think you give him more of a chance. I think he did show some bit of promise in some good games against Oklahoma, a Baylor win that kind of looks a little different now that Baylor's fallen apart. But he did show signs. 3 years is a little bit of a time, but you have to remember where they were before that, and it was not a good place. So is it stagnant from where they were right now? Yes. But does he have the potential of making it better? I also agree, yes.
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at his overall record there at Texas, and right now he's 16-20. The first 2 years were losing seasons, so it looks like he's on his way to a third straight losing season. You just can't survive that. And so the only thing that I think was not done properly is I kind of agree with Yampo here. I think, just let him go. Or just keep your friggin' mouth shut for another 2 weeks and then let him go. Like, there's no reason to string the guy along, to string the kids through it. But, when you go 6-7, 5-7, and then, to this point he's 5-6, a 16-20 record at Texas is just you're not gonna keep your job. You're just not. So he seems like he's a good guy. He seems like he's a disciplinarian. He seems like he's trying to tighten up some of the stuff that's going on there. But 3 years in, he had to have a winning record. I think if he had a winning record this year, he keeps his job, and he's just, it doesn't look like he's going to get that done.
I wonder how much Louisville plays into that and their success with him gone.
Well, and you look at his record at Louisville. He went 7-6, 7-6, and then he had those 2 big years. So it's not like his first 2 years in Louisville he was lighting, lights out. He was average. He was average at best. And then he had those.
It takes a long time, man.
I agree with you, but you're not looking at a guy like Urban, who has this track record of everywhere he goes, he just dominates. I mean, he had 2 good years as a head coach and got the Texas gig. I mean, that's the bottom line. I don't know. It's an interesting mix. I guess let's kind of put a bow on college football here. What do you see it all playing out? What do you see as your top 4?
Well, for starters, I will go on the record and shame myself because my initial top 4 is not going to pan out. I hate to break it to our loyal listeners, but Stanford will not be getting there. They're back in ranked, which is great, but I don't see that one happening. My top 4, and there are a ton of what ifs in this scenario. Again, I can't even articulate what happens in the Big Ten, but number 1, I think you have Bama. They roll right on. I think at number 2, you're going to see Clemson jump up because they'll be a conference champ. So that will probably put them above Ohio State, who I believe wins this week, does not play in a Big Ten championship, but by CFP criteria, they will be unequivocally better than a conference champ and find their way in. And as I noted earlier, I think you'll have 2 Big Ten teams in there, and I think that team will be Wisconsin. I think they're going to win this week. I think, well, it's Minnesota, so it's not that big of a deal. I think they're going to beat, I guess, what would be Penn State. The only thing that could throw a wrench in that would be if Penn State loses to Michigan State.
Go green.
Which could, I'm going to be honest, that could happen. In which case, Michigan plays Wisconsin, probably beats Wisconsin again, and then you still have 2 Big Ten teams in there with Ohio State and Michigan. So it's going to get interesting. Oklahoma is an interesting one to look out for.
Any chance they sneak in there?
They got some traffic in front of them. They need some help. They need some help. And for the second year in a row to have no Big 12 champion, like a championship game to make that decision, they're going to have one next year. But what an awful way to go out. If they play a championship game, I'd argue that they might make it in there. They just had a nice win against West Virginia. Their last, 7 games or whatever it is has been fantastic. But it's rivalry week, man. Sit back, enjoy. It's going to be fun.
It's funny because about a month ago, Rass was sitting here asking you questions about Oklahoma.
It's the first thing I thought of. I hated it.
I mean, he was saying, what do you think the odds are? And then realistically, they're in the hunt. I mean, they're, like you said, they have a lot of traffic in their way, but it's feasible.
For sure.
Boys, either of you disagree with those 4, Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, or Wisconsin?
No, not me.
I mean, I can't say I disagree, but at the same time, I'd like to see someone a little more exciting. I mean, God, Washington. I watched them play USC, obviously, because I had some money on the line, and they just were not very impressive. And I just would.
And that was their only tough game. That was the only tough game they played all year.
I think all I really want to see, and I think what the board is trying to do, or whatever the hell they're called, I think they want to have 3 competitive football games. And if Washington's one of those teams, then I don't think that game's going to be competitive. So
I agree. The other one that could get very interesting is the Pac-12 and what happens with Colorado. Both Colorado and Washington could potentially control their own destiny. If you see Colorado, they just beat Washington. I don't see this happening, but there's an argument to be made over Colorado coming off beating Washington State at 22, Utah this weekend at 12, and then they would play the winner of the Apple Cup, which would be Washington State, in a Pac-12 championship, both ranked. Say that's Washington, and that's a number 5 team beating 3 top 25 teams in the last 3 weeks of the season. That's pretty hot.
Yeah,
I mean, but their
losses
are to
waxed by.
Yeah. I don't. That'd be tough. I don't think Penn State gets through.
I think Oklahoma would be. I think Oklahoma would probably be the best of those fringe teams to come in there and kind of be able to hang with the OSU, Michigan, Clemson, Alabama crowd.
As far as how they are playing today, absolutely, but you're looking at a full season, and they started off slow. I think Oklahoma today could beat both Penn State and Wisconsin.
I think their offense is that good. Penn State stinks. They had a good game against Ohio State. They don't play anybody. I mean, come on, let's be real. The division, they haven't played many good. Whatever. I think they stink. That's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree.
Well, we'll see. We're getting to that point in the year where it gets to be really, really fun. To me, it's like the first or second round of the NBA playoffs. It's like you wait all year for this time of the year in college football, and now you really have some really compelling storylines. For the most part, you should know who everybody is. There's no more surprises week in and week out as far as somebody just not showing up or somebody looking completely different. So I'm really looking forward to that Ohio State-Michigan game. I think a lot of this playoff hinges on that. So
absolutely.
Sean, I'm not going to ask you this because you're just going to stick around.
We have another. I think I'll have myself a beer. I think I'll have myself a...
All right, so we've got a beer on tap today coming to us from
Milwaukee. It's a Miller Lite.
Coming to us from Sierra Nevada, which is delicious. So, Brett, I'll let you do a little intro on it.
I would love to talk Miller Lite, but before we do,
yeah, before let's talk a little bit about Sierra Nevada before we hit.
Yeah. So I guess we decided, Jeff, for the next month through the holiday season,
yes,
we'll kind of do holiday themed beer similar to what we did in October with the pumpkin ones. So the first one on the list that I chose, I like to start off with like the OGs in each of these categories. So this one is Sierra Nevada Celebration. A lot of this is their flagship seasonal by far. A lot of the winter beers that you get are either that dark, kind of like boozy stout, or that beer with a lot of like spice in it, like like a almost a little different than the October ones, but it's like a allspice and nutmeg or whatever. But what Celebration is it's a pretty hop heavy IPA. So it's dark in the theme. It's got caramel malts in it, which really would turn it this really nice amber color. But it's still that hopped up IPA that you're looking for, and it's one of the best that they do. I don't know how you feel about it, but I've loved this beer since the first time I tried it years and years ago.
Yeah, I dig it. I think it's really good. I think you kind of hit on 90% of what I would say for it. I guess my question for you, and yeah, but you don't have it tonight, right?
I wanted to, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Good point. So my question to you, Brett, is what have you noticed? Have you noticed anything about the year in and year out changes, like the 2015 versus the 2016, et cetera? Like, what are you drinking now? Are you drinking the 2016?
Yeah, I don't think.
I guess my question is, have you aged them at all? Have you ever aged?
No, I've never done it, and you typically wouldn't. I would do it if I was at somewhere and they were like, we have a keg,
Right.
of 2015 or 2014. I would definitely give it a try, and I'd like to see how it would hold up. But with these, the only thing that happens when you throw these hop heavy beers, the only thing that happens when you age them is you lose that. Like you lose that bite and that bitterness and the citrus and the pine. That all kind of goes away. And
that's the trademark of the beer.
Right. That's part of the fun of the IPA. So when you lose that, you pretty much lose the beer itself. So it's never super fun to age, but I would definitely try it.
Yeah, I dig it. I mean, I remember one of the first tasting parties that you did at your apartment a million years ago at this point. We were separated into different coasts.
Yeah, East Coast, West Coast. We did East West. Yep.
We did East West, and people brought different beers from different coasts.
Yes.
I don't think it was the Celebration IPA that won out, but Sierra Nevada was overwhelmingly the favorite from that evening. So they do a very good job.
Yeah, and that's good. It's really fun when it holds up like blind.
Yeah.
When a whole group kind of is like, this is the best. So that's good. Yeah, it kind of reinforces that feeling that this is one of the top dogs in that. So glad you enjoyed it. That's good. I give it 2 thumbs up Rass's butt.
Yeah. 1 thumbs up. Sean, what are you drinking tonight, Sean?
It is a cold Miller Lite, a fine Pilsner, spelled different because it's brewed different.
Oh.
Better than the sayings that you've come up with tonight.
Yeah, have you ever aged a Miller Lite? Man, it is just, you like throw a 30 rack in your car, let it heat up, then you throw it in the cooler, then you throw it back out in the heat, let it age for a year or so.
On the golf course bag.
Tremendous. Stick it in your golf bag. Yeah. The pine, really, the almond nutty taste of the Miller Lite really comes out.
It really comes through. It breathes heavy. Yeah. I like it.
I'd still enjoy it.
Very tasty.
Maybe we could do like a wine.
I would do wine.
No, I was kidding.
I'd do wine halftime. I'll do anything. If it's booze related, I'll do it. You want to do a bourbon halftime? Let's do it. I don't care.
Talk about your Banana Republic sweatshirt that looks like it got gnawed on by a rat.
We've had this discussion several times during pre-show. It's Justin Reese's sweatshirt.
God bless Justin Reese. Moving on.
God bless him. All right. Well, Yampo, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking DC Brow again because I'm going for a record.
Because you have 1 beer in your fridge, apparently.
I have Miller Lite. I had a Miller Lite. I finished it. It was delicious.
Good.
Now I have a DC Brow. And I have Christmas Anchor Steam in there waiting for next week.
Fantastic. Yes. That will be next week, so we'll get there then. All right, so that takes us out of our halftime festivities and brings us to the second half of our program today, where I would like to, as long as it's okay with you gentlemen, I would like to discuss a little bit about the National Football League. I'm going to lead off with the game that happened last night in Mexico City. Yes, that is not, you're not mishearing that. We played a game in Mexico City yesterday. And basically, Brett, I'm going to throw this to you because you've been on these boys from very early on. The Raiders are legit.
Yes, they are. It's infuriating. It kind of infuriating about them, but like kind of amazing at the same time. So as somebody, yes, I've been on the Raiders jock since the beginning, but as somebody that has Derek Carr in fantasy football, it is insanely frustrating every week to check his halftime stats and find out he's thrown for 95 yards. But somehow, at the end of the game, the dude has like 250, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's impressive. He gets better as the game goes on, and I don't know why that is, but that's really fun to watch, infuriating as a fantasy owner, but fun to watch as somebody that's a Raider fan to watch your quarterback really start to mature through a game and get better when it counts. They're a pretty solid team right now, and it's impressive. I'm not overly impressed with the Houston Texans. I don't really think they're a good football team, but Oakland's beating everyone on their schedule, and they're in first place in that division after Kansas City took a big L this week to the Bucks.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
So
For you gamblers out there, that was a terrible, terrible loss.
yeah, I can't believe that actually happened. But so now they're in command of that division, and they're in command of the 1 or 2 seed.
The one.
in the AFC. So, that's impressive. No, I can't knock them. I'm happy to watch it to watch it go and watch this team mature. Maybe we'll get a Tuck Rule game.
Tuck Rule 2.0.
You know, it's going to be so disappointing if this team has a great regular season and then you just got a bunch of guys who haven't played in the playoffs.
You got
They don't know what it's like to prepare.
Yep.
Maybe they win a divisional game or their second round because they have a bye. But I could just see them going and getting waxed, or even if they hosted
me too.
the Pats.
I could definitely, and not just from the Pats. I could just see them getting waxed by somebody in the playoff. Denver is a good example. This team is definitely. I think we're all in agreement. This team is going to prove that it had a pretty darn good regular season.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, now the question becomes, can they do it come January?
Well, they're trending upwards, correct? Like if you're a Raider fan, you're happy for the first time.
100%.
I think happy is like not enough. That's just they're way more ecstatic.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? We didn't grow up with it, but the Raiders were like a very storied NFL franchise for a long time there in the 70s and parts of the 80s. So,
and they had a good run in 2002.
Yeah, but haven't been back to the playoffs since. So a lot.
Now they're going to move.
Really,
and now which is weird. They might not now. I just saw that Oakland approved a stadium for them. So who knows? Yeah, I'd go to Vegas in a heartbeat too. But
there's never been a franchise that is more in line with the city.
Yes,
You can't tell me that Vegas wouldn't eat up the Raiders. I mean, it'd be awesome.
I think they fit perfect in Vegas.
I'd probably just move there.
Yeah, you'd have an NHL
hockey and football, and I could bet every day. This is just grounds for divorce.
I mean, of course, you'd be single and paying alimony. But America would be great again for you.
The world needs ditch diggers too, Jeff.
That would be all that matters.
Do you really think a team in Las Vegas would be great? I think it would just be filled with hotel guests, and they wouldn't have that much of a home team advantage.
I don't think it matters.
I think it'd be dangerous for anybody who actually played on that team. In all seriousness,
Yes.
Yes, that is
a really big problem.
You think it'd be more dangerous than playing in Denver or Washington right now, where weed's legal?
Yes.
Way more dangerous.
Why?
Way more dangerous.
Why?
Dude, there's a lot of things that go down in Vegas.
The temptations that are around every corner.
New Orleans there.
New Orleans.
New Orleans in the back?
I would put New Orleans on there, but I mean, Atlanta too. Atlanta's
Listen, the only way that this kind of
shady city.
The only way that whole kind of moniker is going to change is if teams actually go there and nothing happens. That's the only way that's ever going to change.
I don't.
The NHL's going. Yeah, that's it. That's over.
Yeah, but the NHL's a bunch of
settle down
European white guys. They're not getting in trouble. Let's be honest. I'm talking about you're looking at a guy and I'm using him as an example because he's a complete clown. I know it's a different sport, but a guy like J.R. Smith. Like if J.R. Smith ever played in Las Vegas, he'd be
with his
dead.
posse.
He'd be dead within 3 weeks because he was always in clubs in New York until 4:00 in the morning. But that's my point. Like there are teams in New York too, and New York is not any less of a crazy town than Vegas is.
No, and Miami's got a lot of that as well. But I
think you just romanticize Vegas to be this Sodom and Gomorrah town.
Because it is. There's a reason why they call it America. I mean, it's just where things are legal there that aren't legal anywhere else. And
are you in Vegas right now? Because your internet stinks.
It does stink.
Sorry.
But I think a bigger part of the problem there is where do you live, right? Like you kind of need to be in the middle of that stuff. Otherwise, there you go. Just rent a room.
Yeah, you and Lamar.
I'm actually, Jeff, you brought it up, but I'm surprised the NBA team was not there first. Just given kind of that atmosphere and that level, that entertainment, I'm very surprised.
I'll tell you why they aren't, because they've played the All-Star game there a couple of times.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
And it's always been a mess.
No.
They do D-League there too, right?
Yeah, the D-League is there. Or the preseason is there. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Either way, I think the Raiders are a pleasant surprise. You know, especially in a year for me where my team stinks. I like seeing teams like that are totally out of the out of my field of vision at the beginning of the year, and they turn out to be something really good. We got a couple of NFC things to talk about. Yampa, I'm gonna throw this your way first. What the hell is wrong with Green Bay?
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think people were saying, "Oh, is it Aaron Rodgers?" And I said it wasn't Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's even more apparent that the defense is not very good, and they still don't have a running game. And those are their two biggest issues. And I think honestly, the Redskins might be a little bit better than a lot of people give them credit for. As a guy who watches the Redskins somewhat frequently, I think unfortunately they might be a little bit better. And I think the Packers are just hurting on defensive running back is really the long and the short of it.
So they're not turning this around. It's not happening.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, you got Detroit and Minnesota with a big matchup this weekend, pretty much for the division or on Thanksgiving. I just don't see them coming out of a 4-6 hole.
How great is it to see Detroit playing like a meaningful Thanksgiving game?
It's amazing.
Right?
For my wife, it's amazing. It's a great thing.
But seriously, growing up, we were watching Barry Sanders play on Thanksgiving Day, and now finally there's an actual reason to watch the Lions, except for playing.
We're talking about the Lions, and she walks in to say hello. Are you excited about the Lions? No, she's very excited about the Lions.
Very, very excited. How about Calvin Johnson? You got to be pissed, right?
I mean, do you have to be pissed?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Like you bail, and then suddenly it's like, oh, the team's pretty good.
Yeah, but on the plus side, he's not going to die at 45.
He wasn't dying. Wow.
So it's
If you want to recognize that as a plus side, yeah.
Seriously, Jesus. All right, let's go to the NFC. Right now, if the playoffs were to start today, you got Dallas, Seattle, Detroit, Atlanta, and New York and Washington. Those are your teams. Dave, I guess I'll throw it to you. Your Giants are in the mix there. This year has a weird feeling like one of those Giant teams that's not really all that good, but if they get hot at the right moment, they can make a run. Who do you see as far as the playoff picture right now? Who do you see as a legitimate contender to go to the Super Bowl and win?
So I think Seattle in recent weeks has kind of reemerged as a squad that's I don't know, people were kind of sleeping on them earlier, and they seem to be playing really well right now. Atlanta, I don't know. Every time Atlanta starts to play well, they take a step back, and then we know their record in playoffs. You're right about the Giants. I mean, without getting too much into the game this past weekend, I think the Giants are still plagued by not having the killer instinct. They should have beaten that Bears team pretty handily there in the second half, and they didn't.
They might have gotten Jay Cutler another contract.
Well, they did. He's out for the year, so
They actually did beat him pretty bad in the second half. I mean, they won that game in the second half. They were getting their ass kicked at halftime.
They did. They just didn't. They weren't getting their ass kicked. They just didn't show up, and it was 16-9. And the defense came out, or the offense came out, got the ball scored in the first two possessions, and the defense played outstanding. But then all of a sudden, they get a lead, and McAdoo totally dials it down. And in the fourth quarter, I was pretty disappointed with the play calling. They had the ball maybe 3 or 4 times within 8 minutes or less of the game and couldn't close it out. And I think that's just something that, they just went to that draw play over and over again. And I understand the urge to run the clock, and I understand the urge to make the other team use their timeouts. And I also understand that the Bears had their third string in a lot of positions, but you got to go win the game. These guys were being aggressive in the first half, going for it on fourth down, aggressive play calling, and then all of a sudden they go to the draw. You got to be more creative. You got to put teams away and go get the win.
Yeah, but how much longer does Rashad Jennings have on this team?
I think that's a good question. I don't know. He might have 1 or 2 more years on that contract.
You got to get rid of him after this year, because you have very few years left of Eli's prime, and if you can run the ball with Eli Manning and Odell Beckham, your offense is dangerous.
It's not Rashad Jennings. The offensive line. The offensive line has 2 or 3 holes. I mean, Marshall Newhouse is our starting guard right now. And John Jerry. I mean, John Jerry, isn't that the guy that got jettisoned off of the Dolphins for being bullied?
What? No,
Yeah.
that was Richie Incognito.
No. This is the guy who complained about getting bullied and left.
No, that was
Dude from
Jonathan
Stanford?
Martin.
Whatever.
That was Jonathan Martin.
He's just as bad. He should be bullied off this team. Okay, is my point.
Okay.
The offensive line is not as good, and that's why. Listen, Rashad Jennings they rushed for 100 yards 2
He had,
weeks
his,
in a
he
row.
had his best game of the season. He ran for like 85 yards and a touchdown.
Okay,
like-
well,
I mean, all right, fine. If
I
you
think
want to blame the line, then blame the line.
oh no, I mean, as a guy who played line, I understand the concept of how that all works, and the line is where it starts.
But you're both
right-
right. You're both right because there are plenty of backs that have succeeded with subpar offensive lines. He's not going to be one of them.
No, he never would. He never was, and he never will be.
Right.
But they don't have many other options. Paul Perkins, Orleans Darkwa. I mean, come on.
No, I think, and Brett, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're looking more to what are they going to do in the offseason to maybe upgrade.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe they get someone in the draft. I mean, I like Perkins the way they kind of snuck him in there in a later round, but I think they need to address the quarterback situation.
yeah, eventually,
sure.
yes. Yeah.
And I don't know.
It's a tough call. Like, you're a franchise like that. Eli's got probably about three to 5 more years where he's definitely going to want to play and still can play at a elite level.
With Beckham.
Right. So, like, at what point do you pull that trigger and say, all right, you're gone, and we're going to replace you? That's a tough call.
He's been pretty healthy too, right? Throughout his career, I don't
He's never missed a start.
Never
there's
missed
any
a start.
signs.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. Oh boy. I mean, they are playing the Browns
Yep.
this weekend.
Yampo, what do you think about Dallas? Do you think they pull all the way through, or do you think they kind of show a little bit of that young side of them?
So I think
Come playoff
Dallas.
time.
I think Dallas has some interesting matchups and really tough matchups here in the next few games. I think the Redskins game on Thanksgiving is going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to be a really good game. That rivalry, as someone who lives here, it's pretty heated. Those two teams do not like each other, and I think that should be a good test for them. And then 2 weeks later, they play the Giants in New York on Sunday night, and so I'd like to see how they come out of the next 3-game swing to kind of determine what that's about. I texted you guys over the weekend that Dallas, someone tweeted Dallas hasn't really played anybody over 500. Now, to be fair, they beat the Steelers, who would have been 500 if they won. They beat the Eagles, who would have been 500 if they won, over 500. So they're taking care of business on their schedule. I would have thought they would have handled the Ravens a little more aggressively out of the gate. But,
It's a really good division. I'll tell you that.
it's shaped up to be a really good division. I think the AFC West and the NFC East are the 2 best divisions in football.
And Dak Prescott, I mean, there isn't a more polarizing player in the sense that people are either all about him or they're like he's luck. I'm like, listen, you don't do what you're doing. I mean, like, look at guys like Russell Wilson. You even look like a guy like, and Sean, this is your neck. You even look like a guy like Roethlisberger, who started his career, with incredible amounts of success. Ben started his career with great success, and there were some stinkers he had in there in the beginning of the year. Even that first Super Bowl, he was garbage in that first Super Bowl, but he did enough to win games. And I think that you look at Prescott, and that's where you're at with him. Is there are some games where he's going to look like an All-Pro, and then there are some games where maybe he doesn't quite have it because he's a young guy still learning how to play the position.
Go look at Peyton Manning's first season.
Yeah.
But Peyton didn't have the guys around him that Prescott has. I mean, Prescott's got
Prescott's got an offensive line that's phenomenal. He's got Elliott. He's got
Yampo loves offensive lines.
Dude, listen, I'm telling you something. An offensive line makes your football team. Listen, you're a Patriots fan. You guys have had great offensive lines, or better than average.
Yeah,
and that
definitely
helps.
they've had better than average.
When you run the ball, you can throw the ball. When you can't run the ball, teams play cover 2, and that's it. And game over.
No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right.
So the initial question was kind of around maturity with Dak, and I'll even throw Zeke into that. Like, they're starting to get a little hyped. The market's getting around them in a big way. The Dallas Cowboys are going to have national kind of notoriety in that respect. They're making videos where they're eating the whole eating the cereal thing. Like, it's starting to get a little bit more mainstream than you've seen the Dallas Cowboys in a while. Are those guys young, the young guys, mature enough to kind of take that on and continue it through the rest of the season?
I think that they have enough of a balance with guys like Dez. I know it sounds funny, but Jason Witten and some of their defensive guys like Lee. I don't worry about a guy like Elliott, who has been playing big games in college football for the last however many years he was at Ohio State. Dak Prescott's really the question mark, right? I mean, his several last first halves have been a little slow, but he seems to settle into the game better. And that offensive line keeps grinding it out, and that opens up some opportunities for him. And so, Dallas is, for all intents and purposes, in the driver's seat until they prove otherwise.
The thing that I will say to you too, Yampo, just to kind of double down on your offensive line commentary, is I saw what a very good, very solid offensive line and a good defense can do for a team, because it took Mark Sanchez to back-to-back AFC title.
Yeah.
So you look at Dallas, they've got the best offensive line in football, and they have way more offensive weapons than either of those Jet teams have. They absolutely are legitimate.
How much do you think Romo's actually helping that situation on the sideline? To be, in all honesty, not as a joke, I think he's probably coaching him through a good bit. And then my follow-up question would be, do you think that whole press conference was prideful or unnecessary?
Hey, Sean, thanks for your call. First time, long time. Appreciate the question.
It was definitely necessary, or else you just left that issue to hang in the media for weeks.
And he handled it so well.
Which is why the Jets are going to sign him, and you're going to love him for like 2 weeks till he breaks his back. It's going to be amazing.
They're going to go 7-1 and then fall apart.
What's interesting is I said this on the show like week 2 or 3. I was like, if they go 7 or 8-1, I'm leaving Dak in. And most people on the panel disagreed with me.
Yeah,
they were like, you got to put Romo in. You got to put. Romo
I didn't
in.
say that.
And that, no, you did not, David.
You weren't invited on the show.
Oh, okay. My bad.
There was a reason why you didn't say that. We didn't want you on.
You weren't present.
I think your mic wasn't working for that show, actually.
So I like the position they're in right now. I like having Dak there, and Tony needs to be there. He's a great insurance policy, but that's all he's going to be for them.
Yeah, and
he's got to be coaching him through that, though, right? Like he's got to be.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect person to have on your sideline for him.
He did the same thing to Drew Bledsoe 10 years ago. It's the same situation. So
I think Tony's probably happy to be winning, and the team's doing well, and I'll buy into that. He's probably a team first guy, and so the team's doing well, and Prescott's managing the game, and so they're going to ride that until there's reason not to.
It's easy to be a team first guy when you're making that kind of money, and you know that regardless of whether you're in Dallas or somebody else, you're going to get another contract after this. I mean, he's going to play football, right? I mean, Tony Romo's not done.
It's interesting that he keep talking about him going to the Broncos, or he's eyeing the Broncos. I just don't. I think John Elway's a little bit smarter than that. I don't see that happening.
I'd take him on a short term. I'd take him for like a year.
Why?
I don't think he'd want a year.
Best case, no, I don't think he would either. I mean, that would just be bad on his agent. But if there were no other deals, I'd take a flyer on him for a year, no doubt, if I was Elway.
All I know is
he'll go to the Jets.
I can tell you right now that I want no part of him. And
he's going. He's going
for it.
I mean,
just ready.
Yeah.
Jeff, switching to the AFC, I think the Jets. There's all this talk about why are they still playing Fitzpatrick. You know what? If you're Todd Bowles, you're still trying to win games. I mean, if you asked Bill Parcells, why are you still playing Fitzpatrick? He'd tell you, I'm trying to win the last 6 games. All right, I'm trying to win out.
Why are you trying to win out?
Because we want to finish 9-7.
Why? So you could have no draft pick next year? Get a high draft pick.
This is not the NBA. Player. Teams don't do that.
Don't give me that garbage.
This is not the NBA.
Don't act like your league is better than some other league. All right, fine.
It is way better. It's far superior.
I really, really, really did not want to talk about the Jets this week.
You know you do. I'm talking about them seriously.
Really. And
you got a number 9 jersey coming your way, brother.
If you're asking me a legitimate question about Ryan Fitzpatrick,
I am.
There is absolutely no effing excuse for this guy to be playing in any game for the rest of this season.
Why?
No excuse.
Because statistically, he's the worst quarterback in the league. That's why.
Statistically, the worst quarterback in the NFL this year.
Okay, so who's better that you're going to go with?
It doesn't matter. There's nobody with a sample size. You can't be worse.
So would you rather have Fitzpatrick, who's a proven starter in this league, or do you want to try and see what you got with Perry or Hackenberg?
I'd rather see what I have with anybody else on the roster to play quarterback.
I'll tell you who doesn't want to do that. Your head coach.
Well, he stinks, and he should be fired because he's a bum.
Okay,
he may be a great defensive coordinator, and I'm sure he's a good guy, but he stinks as a head football coach, and I want no part of him. He is weak. Everything that he's done when it's mattered has been trash, and so I love the general manager. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's put a team around in Florham Park that should have been competitive, and basically he bought all the ingredients to make a very good meal, and the head coach just took it all out of a bag and took a dump on the table.
I think a better analogy would be the Blue Apron Box showed up, and he just didn't cook it right. He didn't follow the directions. I mean, you got the talent. There's talent there.
Yes, there's a lot of talent there, and I'm telling you, he took a dump on the table. It was
All right, so who do you want? Brian Kelly?
they're not. They're going to keep him.
I know. And you got 2 games against New England. God bless your soul.
But that's all the more reason. Like, what the hell are you starting this guy for? It makes no effing sense. Play the kid. Play the kids. See if the kid has anything. Because at least you would know by the end of this year if he's going to be on your roster or if you're going to cut bait and go and sign Tony frickin' Romo.
Oh, God.
I have 2 things.
What you're going to do. You have no idea what you have.
2 things. If anybody is listening, go to the YouTube video and see how visibly angry Jeff is at this point in the show, because there is steam coming out of his ears.
It's ridiculous.
I think like his eyes are rolling. Like, you are angry. Like,
Sean, I paid money for this team. I have friggin' season tickets for this team. I paid a personal seat license for this freaking team.
He's literally staring me in the eyes right now. He's staring me in the eyes, and it hurts my soul.
I can see the vein in the center of his head that pops out.
I'll stop staring at you and have the vein popping. Just take me to the championship game. It's fine.
My second thing was put somebody else in, see if you get trade bait. Whatever. See if you get something. What's the lose?
I don't even think trade bait matters, but you don't even know what you have. You don't even know what you have. You're going to win at the most. If you played Fitzpatrick every game for the rest of this year, and we can somehow on some ridiculous plane of existence agree that he gives you the best chance to win games. If you played him every game, what are you going to win? 3 more games? You're going to have 6 wins? And you're going to have no idea who these 2 kids are that you wasted a 4th-round pick and a 2nd-round pick on, and you have no idea if they can play.
Oh, I'll tell you, I have a pretty good idea about Hackenberg. He stinks, and he's going to stink. And
Just like his college.
NFL quarterback. Petty, I agree with you about. Let's see what you got. See what you got.
Yep.
Because what's the harm?
I don't think Hackenberg's. I don't think you give him a chance.
Look, I'm not saying Hackenberg can be anything, but you have no idea. You have no idea, and you're going nowhere this year. The worst thing to be in the National Football League is mediocre. It's the worst.
That was my argument before when Dave's like, they're trying to win out. Why? The worst thing to be is 7.
I don't know.
8.
I just think if you ask the football coaches who have been successful in this league, the Belichicks, the Parcells, the guys who have won tons of games and been around, if you're telling them with a 3-7 record, hey, play the kids, see what you got, I think they tell you to go take a hike, and they say, I'm trying to win these next 6 football games. So go screw.
You know what? Those guys were so infinitely more prepared week in and week out than football coaches.
I'll buy that.
So I have no problem. If Bill Parcells was coaching this team, if Bill Belichick was coaching this team, and guys were just not good enough, I'd have no problem with what your statement is. But this is a team that has ability and has totally underperformed. And so at this point, it's on the coach, play the kids, see what they have, and cut bait at the end of the year.
Is that your first take?
I don't understand how freaking angry.
I didn't mean to get you upset. I just wanted to have a real talk about the Jets, but
they stink. I hate them.
All right, well, let's move on.
The AFC, that's pretty real. The AFC. We talked about Oakland. Oakland's the number 1 seed. Your Pats are the number 2. We got Houston, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Denver right now.
Denver
right now.
Denver's Pop Warner team is stacked.
We got Morris Knowles rounding it out right there. What do you think? Do you think that we've got Oakland has a real shot to take out the Pats, or do you see it as a Patriot party going to the Super Bowl again?
I think there are a lot of teams that have the ability to take out the Pats. Not a lot, a couple. I'd say that. I think there's a couple.
I don't even believe that.
I do.
Saying that so that in like 3 or 4 weeks, if they happen to lose, be like, oh, listen, I told you that it wasn't.
I said it on the show. I said it on the show. You know what, though? I think Miami, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis are better than Houston, Baltimore, and Kansas City. So it's funny because those are the 3 teams that are out and they're on the precipice of getting in. I think Baltimore's not good at all.
No, they stink. Firsthand, they stink.
And the fact that they're the fourth ranked team in the AFC
Well, that's because they're in their winning their division.
is it is, but
What about
it's
Sean, you're a Pittsburgh guy. Like, what happened?
I couldn't tell you, man. I have no idea.
They're still
Roethlisberger
5-5.
being
They're
out for a couple
5-5.
of- Yeah, and they'll win that division when it's all said and done.
You really think so?
Yes, yes,
I do.
Oh, they don't look good.
Dude, they've got too much offensive firepower. I think they beat the Colts.
That's fair.
I think they beat the Colts for sure, especially if Luck doesn't play. Not that the Colts are anything to write home about. And then, this is a textbook game for the Giants to go to Pittsburgh and just play like dog shit.
That would be a big win for Pittsburgh. That would be a big, as you like to say, David, statement game.
Oh, I love statement games.
For them
statement podcasts. I think we're making one.
for them to win that would really say that they're trending in the right direction at the right time in the season, and they're going to take the division
And
in
listen,
the playoffs.
after
Yeah.
that,
And then the remainder of their schedule is not very
Exactly.
like if you're looking at it, it's
Exactly.
Bills, Bengals, Ravens, Browns.
and
Right.
two of those are home and two of them are away. I think those are all 4 winnable games for that team.
All
So
right, let's close out the NFL. Give me your Super Bowl matchups as of going into Week 12.
we're doing Super Bowl in week 12.
Again,
Yep.
we did it in week 10.
As of this week. If you had to pick 2 teams, one from each conference, what is it going to be, Sean?
I'll go New England and you know what? Dallas. Why not? Let's have some
Stink.
fun with it.
Yeah,
Let's see it happen.
That's not
See it
fun.
happen.
Okay, I'm sticking with what I picked 2 weeks ago. Giants, Patriots, Trace.
Trace Malhuevos. Brett.
You know what I wanted to say before? I'll tell you. I'm pretty sure I'm going to bet my mortgage that the Giants are going to win the Super Bowl.
Don't do it.
It just feels like, Jeff, you said it earlier, and I couldn't agree with you more. It just
When they
feels
sneak in
like
as a
that.
wild card team, they just
It's
they
so
bite ya.
unbelievably.
They bite you.
The AFC, I think you know who I would like out of the AFC, but I'm going to switch.
The Steelers, okay.
I'm going to flip on the NFC. I believe I said Dallas 2 weeks ago, but in my heart of hearts right now, I know it's only 2 weeks. I think Seattle could beat them. And
Because they just beat your team at home.
no, they're doing what Seattle does. They're start off slow. They play like a terrible 3-3 game against the Rams, and then they start turning it on.
Peak
They're
at
like-
the right time.
Yeah, they get hot at the right time and consistently hot. They're like the Warriors. Like they come out the gate, you're not really that good. You lose a couple games, and then you're like, all right, guys, time to turn it on. Here we go.
Mm.
So I'll see Seattle coming out of the NFC.
Pete Carroll, the one that got away, Jeff.
Yeah, just stop. I'm going to go with the entire panel here. I'm going to go against the entire panel here, and I'm going to go with
Jeff.
the very,
Jets in the Super Bowl.
very unpopular Baltimore-Washington matchup. I
Oh
think
my God. I would move immediately.
no chance. All right, so I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes for the Put
Yes.
It in My 5-hole NHL segment. You've got 2 minutes. I am actually timing you. Your 2 minutes begins now.
All right, so listen, Brett, I'm going to lead this off. It's
Go.
not 2 guys or whatever. Put it in my 5-hole. It's 2 guys, 1 cup for the record.
You're 30
NHL,
seconds in.
we're 3/4 of the way. Top 10 teams in the league, 7 of them are from the East. I think you're seeing a little bit of a shift here. The Eastern teams are getting better, and I like it. Local teams, Rangers are on fire. Plus 35 goal differential. That team is just rocking and rolling right now. The Devils kind of came out of the gate pretty hot, 8-3-3. Then they lost the last 3. Had some injuries. Taylor Hall, Camilleri been out. Palmieri was out the other night. So they need some guys to get back healthy. And then you got the lowly Islanders, who are ranked 30th of 30. They are terrible. Minus 12 goal differential. That's not going to win you any games. And has the announcement come out yet on the NHL team name in Las Vegas yet?
The Knights.
It's tonight. Is it done? Vegas Knights?
They're the Knights, but they don't know if they're Scarlet,
Desert.
Golden, or Desert, or something like that. I don't know.
Scarlet Knights? That's Rutgers.
Yeah, that is Rutgers.
Anyway, since we only got 2 minutes, how much more time we have?
You have a minute. 1 minute left to play the.
Oh, we got plenty of time, Brett.
I
What
feel
do
like
you wanna
this
talk
is. I feel like this is the at the end of PTI when they like do errors and they like run down. They're like, "All right, and this is happening tonight." Blah,
about?
blah,
Yeah, what game are you watching right now in the background?
blah. The Blues Bruins.
Oh, yeah, little David Backus back in St. Louis.
Yeah, we're in the 3rd period right now. Very excited for the Devils.
And that's the end of that right there.
Balls.
That was wonderful. That was a great 2 minutes of podcasting right there.
Sweet.
Definitely appreciate that.
No problem.
Let's close it out. going into a little bit of the NBA. I'm going to give 24 seconds on the Knicks. Brett, I'm going to throw 24 seconds to you on the Nets. The Knicks basically right now they're hovering around that 500 mark. We had said earlier in the year I had given the okay to take the over on the Knicks for the wins. I still think they're going to put it together. I think it's interesting that they have such turmoil within the front office there with Phil Jackson, but I do think they have too much talent there to ultimately struggle. The one thing I would look at for the remainder of the year is to see how much Noah plays. I think that'll be interesting. Brett, anything on the Nets?
They're 4-9. They're just off the dead last place, 4-10 Philadelphia 76ers. So they still suck is my update.
Okay. Sean, anything on the NBA?
I can honestly tell you that the only thing NBA related that I've seen in recent history has been the David Blaine video with Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. I have not watched a single game. So
Very important. Very good. Yampo, anything for basketball?
If you're going to go to a basketball game, only way to go is on the floor. Saw the Wizards and the Celtics play a turd bowl the other night and lost money.
The most important thing about an NBA basketball team is you need a good offensive line. If you don't have a good offensive line,
You're not going to do squat. If you don't have at least 4 white guys over 7 foot, you're done.
Very true. Very true. All right, boys. Let's close it out for today. Real quick, just a note to anybody that's still hung on and listened at the end of the show here. We are going to be making a change to a different platform over the next couple of weeks. We're going to take November out on the C&G Podcast Network. Much love over there to Ganley and to Chris for giving us our launch here. But stay tuned the next couple of weeks. We're going to have some information as to where you can find us, maybe some expansion, what we got going on. So say what you got to say. Sean, lead us off. We'll go Sean, Yampo, Brett, and then take it home.
Not too much. One thing we didn't talk about was Notre Dame potentially getting 21 wins vacated from 2013, 12 and 13 for a student trainer taking classes and doing work for people. That should pop up a little more next week, so stay tuned.
Yampo?
Don't know if you guys saw Jurgen Klinsmann out as U.S. soccer coach. A lot of soccer fans, I'm sure, listening to this blog, like me, who only watch every 2 or 4 years. I don't even know. 4 years? World Cup?
They're listening
World
to
Cup.
this blog.
Bruce
They're listening to
Arians?
this blog.
Who's the head coach now? Bob Arians?
They're listening to the blog with Joe Pops.
Fucking soccer.
Brett, what do you
I got absolutely nothing. I got nothing. Have a good night.
Good for you.
Desperandum, dear lady. Across the desert lies the promised land. Goodbye, Mrs. Gloop. You, auf Wiedersehen, Gesundheit, farewell.
All right.